I need to talk about a very important topic that plagues everybody today. It's about constant connectedness and how this leads to a massive amount of distraction, and how it also leads to a lot of solitude deprivation. And I think women in particular suffer from this a lot more than men, because women are always being hit up in the DM, but men as well. But that's an assumption I'm making. uh, anyways, I remember reading in the book Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. And he talked about how we have unconsciously adopted this attitude of having a always connected state. Where we at a moment's notice, this phone can ring and I will probably answer it. Or someone will send me a text and now that text is in my mind. Or I would, want to shoot a text back. And very few people really make a serious effort into making sure that doesn't happen. Making sure that their phone is not on do not disturb or focus mode for the majority of the day. As Cal Newport argues in his book, he's like, well, if the iPhone was sold under the pretense that it would distract you every 10 minutes and you would spend like 8 hours a day on it and you'd be addicted as fuck to it and it'll make you like very, very like have a very low productivity, it wouldn't have sold. But the iPhone or the cell phone, and with all its distractions, all the notifications being shoved down our throat, this crept up on us slowly over years. And it was really shocking to read that like a majority percentage of the population will not take time to silence and permanently disable notifications on the apps that they don't want notifications on. And so every new app that they get, they're going to get all their bloatware marketing emails and all this stuff. It's just ridiculous. But I want to focus this talk mainly on the aspect of being constantly connected. There is a lot to say about how we are addicted to our phones and all our computers and devices. But I want to just really nail down the point of constant connectedness. Because think about how it used to be, where, 100 years ago, where, if someone wanted to contact you, they had to go to your house, or like call you on the phone, right? And they wouldn't do it often, right? Like if someone, had a phone call with you all the time, it's like, well, stop calling me so much, stop calling me 5 times a day. Let's leave it to 1, right? Or not like, a ping back and forth that's going to distract you from whatever the fuck you're doing. Back then, a lot of times maybe you weren't even around your phone. You're out of the house, right? You didn't have a cell phone on you. And like if there was an emergency, you would just find out when, you are next near uh, that individual that could relay the information to you. A lot of times we have this excuse in our minds where, we need to have a ringer always on. Like, we need to have our family members being able to always contact us whenever in case of an emergency. And we won't, of course, we won't set the boundaries with our family at all too, because that's the thing you have to intentionally do. And a lot of people don't make these intentional design decisions around their life where they say, like, do not fucking call me at these hours unless it's an emergency. Otherwise I'll just, block your calls at for the first 10 hours of the day so I can actually get some work done. And there's that pull of that massive socialization, people sending stuff on Instagram, sending the memes, right? And also in our now massively socially deprived world, we're constantly looking for those small little hits of socialization with the likes and the shares and the views on the stories. And of course, being able to someone sends you something funny and and then you're having a conversation spread out throughout the entire fucking day, and that's just digging into the time that you have and also taking away from your commitments and whatnot. Someone calls you at when you're supposed to be focusing on going to bed, and it's like, oh well, you don't have that boundary setting skill yet to tell them to fuck off, or whatever it is. And I do believe, women, I think, suffer from this a lot more. From my experience, from what I understand, people, if you have public accounts, people are messaging you left and right a lot more, right? Phones being blown up on Instagram, Snapchat, and if you're on the dating apps, for sure, on the Tinders and Plenty of Fishes and the Bumble. I don't know what else is out there. I find that interesting. And what's a real risk now is that, as Cal Newport argues, is that as well as we have this solitude deprivation. And this is extremely dangerous because then we just become part of the hive mind of everybody else. We don't really have that time to really think for ourselves in solitude. To have that inner, yes, we want to be connected, but not at all hours, at all times. Because we need that time alone to just be sitting with our thoughts and to get comfortable to be in a room alone without any distractions. Because we're never going to work out our problems if we can't even, of course, be comfortable in a room alone. You risk not becoming who you came here to be if you're constantly plugged in, talking to people, being pinged every 15 minutes or, whatever, messaging this person and messaging this person. You lose a lot of productivity and you also lose a lot of yourself. Because all those hours that you're focusing on other people, how much is that taking away from you focusing on yourself? Or all those hours focusing on those vices as well? I know for a fact in my own direct experience, when I'm in a mode where I'm socializing with people, people are texting you and trying to get to know you over texting and all that stuff. Like I set a rule for myself, and this is also suggested in the book, where a couple things is that, you have your office hours, right? So like you don't even interface with the world. You only interface with the outside world during hours 3 to 5 p.m. Or like you set hours of what time you check your phone: 9 p.m. or 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever, right? If you want to be more available. So such that you can give yourself permission to put your phone on silent, away, off, in focus mode. You're not constantly distracted. Because for me, like if someone is having, especially for my brain, like if someone's having a conversation with me in the morning, like that's gonna weigh on my mind all fucking day, all day. For me, like I noticed that, like, it's on do not disturb, focus mode, and airplane mode, such that I can just use my notes app on my phone and that's it. And I've noticed a lot of mental hurdles in being able to get to that point, or I will, disable all the notifications as well, like on WhatsApp and the SMS messenger, the default texting app, whatever's on your phone. I noticed some mental barriers, like to not have that notification, like pop up at the top, run from the top of your phone. There's that fear there that comes up where you're just like, well, fuck, like what if there's an emergency? And like, I think you have to get to a point where you realize, like, you know what, like I don't give a fuck, like, if living my life focused means that I don't get to hear about an emergency, immediately, then so be it. Like you have to just really make that decision for yourself, because emergencies are so rare. Now, of course, this is highly context dependent, right? Depends on who you're responsible for. This is like your kids trying to call you, right? There's that kind of stuff. You gotta do what works for you. But more often than not, a lot of these emergency scenarios are fantasies in our mind of things that will probably never happen. But as a result, that idea in your mind is causing you to have behaviors that open you up to the world of distraction, So like, oh yeah, I'll keep my phone on, for an emergency, but then it also opens me up to getting the text from this person, or getting the text from the person that, I would care about an emergency from, but like it's just on something mundane that could be left to another time, that kind of thing. So, yeah, really reconsider, this need for being constantly connected. And I challenge you, go do a day, a week, a month, where you turn off your notifications on your phone. And like, for example, like on my phone, like I will just shut off all notifications on my email. So then like I have to like schedule in the time to look at my email to address what the fuck, people are emailing me about. And it also makes you a little bit more conscientious to actually go through and organize your email anyways. So stuff like that, right? Now, of course, this is not suitable for all people, but, find what works for you. More often than not, like, to be connected 24 hours of the day, yeah, you're probably not that, not that important, or like you don't need to do that. Even if you are an important individual, I think even especially if you're an important individual, you need that time for yourself to get your important shit done. But, to at least tone it back so you actually claim some hours of your day back, such that you can focus on this thing, getting that whole deep work going where you shut the world out and you focus on creating the life that you want, such that, focusing on creating yourself, creating the individual that you came here to be, and not letting individuals influence every waking moment of your life. Having that direction. So consider this, right? And really start to separate and parse, sort the wheat from the chaff. Where you start to realize, how much of this interaction is really valuable and how much is just you can go without. So, think about that. Consider not being able to be constantly disturbed 24/7. Create your focus time. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next one.